Greetings, I am Lies.
And I am Scandal.
And let's play a game together.
Yay!
Alrighty, so we are still lost in timelines, though we did go back and check.
We did.
This is the same day as when we went for the poster supplies, so we are in a vortex of the posters are going to be created. They're already being created. Go get the supplies to create them.
Sounds about right.
Alright, Yuri, that was really good.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for sharing.
Looks like Yuri is down for the count.
That was all her social spoons.
Yep, that was all she had.
Okay. I guess I'm next then.
Oh boy, more acting for you. Sayori hops out of her chair and cheerfully walks to the podium like a bitch.
She jumps out of her chair, flings the chair onto the ground with a mighty crash. All right.
Because that's exactly what those characters do.
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes the way they just bounce out of those chairs, like if they're not attached, it just flies across the room.
Honestly, I'm waiting for the day, like, that a character does that and, like, it goes flipping through the air aggressively and, like yeets its way out the window or just, like, into something. I don't even know.
I think I've seen that once in, like, a joke anime, but I can't think of it at the moment. It's fine. But I think they did stuff similar to that in, like, maybe Excel Saga. Anyway.
Probably.
This one's called My Meadow. Sorry, I giggled. Still giggling.
Sayori!
Yeah, it's a lot harder than I thought.
You're lucky that it just makes you laugh. Other people, well, they could just bomb.
Or pee themselves. Oh. Sorry, I'm nervous.
Hey, sorry, if you didn't feel that, like, glare, like...
How did you guys do it so easily? Try not to think of it like you're reciting to other people. Imagine you're reciting it to yourself, like in front of a mirror or in your own head. It's your poem, so it'll come out best that way. If you imagine yourself reading it the way you would read it if it were for you, rather than performing for someone else. You know, they often say that when you're performing, you should really do it for yourself and not so much for the other people, even though they're the judge of what you're doing.
Speak it for you.
Yeah, speak your truth.
Yep, speak your own truth to your power. All right, honey.
I see. I see. Okay, then.
Sayori begins her poem.
This one is a song. La 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 la.
She is Moon, and I wish to make sure that her whole body is encapsulated by the thing that she is named after. So she will be consumed by light, and it will burn her to fucking bits.
This one is called Social Memes. Moon, who the fuck invited Moon? And the party is now won. It'd be more like, I yell amongst the party, outdoors, who the fuck invited Moon? And everybody across the street and around the neighborhood yells, Moon, and then we are one.
Great. Somehow it feels like her soft voice was made as a perfect match to
her poem, I guess.
That doesn't feel like a complete sentence to me. But okay. The poem isn't aimlessly cheery like Sayori is. It's serene and bittersweet. And I've had a lot of exposure now to literature. See, I realize what's happened in the time vortex is that, truly, I have begun to understand the literatures. If I were to read this on paper, I probably wouldn't think much of it. But hearing it come from Sayori's voice almost gives it a whole new meaning.
From someone who has read audiobooks and who has read aloud quite a bit, and I mean performed audiobooks as well as read aloud to a lot of people and in groups and things like that, to my young relatives and sometimes to my friends. There is an experience of dramatically changing books by performing them.
Performance really does add a layer that a lot of people can't get, and it gets really awkward where actually, like, so if you ever listen to a bunch of audiobook readers and you realize where some of them go, I have this idea for this character, because they only know some brief ideas about the character if they were actually directed by anybody, like, and they give them sort of like a summary, you can really listen to them kind of lose it, where say like 30 pages in, you learn that a character they've been playing have, you know, a Scottish accent.
Right.
And they didn't have that, and they're like, shit! And you can sort of hear the panic as they sort of try to finagle their way around it. So
it's a lot easier, I would say, to read a book that you know what's about, to give it a lot of more depth and meaning.
Right.
Especially a book you've read before. Now, I understand the industry doesn't work that way because it can't generally keep up with that pace. And so most of the book readers go in blind, which is part of why they read slowly. But they get instruction for pronunciation, as well as important story, for the most part, from the authors and producers of the book. What?
So my brain just went, why can't they keep up with it? They should just go read the audiobook. Go listen to the audiobook.
Before they perform the audiobook. I love that.
That was my brain just going, audiobooks are great. All audiobooks exist before.
But I would have to say that there's a lot of fun, subtle characterization that you can give to to the, the beings on the page. Characterization to characters.
Which is actually why people say that if you're also going to read the story out loud, it does actually give it a different dimension, even if just for your own experience.
I was going to say, but it's really fun to foreshadow things with tone or behavior or, stuff like that. If you know this is the villain, there's a certain way to mask it that the text doesn't necessarily do in the same way that adds a whole nother layer, which is why performance is a lot of fun, I think. All right.
But hearing it come from Sayori's voice almost gives it a whole new meaning.
It's also really fun to listen to very different people perform the same thing dramatically.
Yes.
And read the exact same lines and come up with a completely different interpretation.
And that's why it's really important, kids, that you don't spoil games for each other.
Because then they're open to the interpretation of the new audience, who's taking them in as a blank, innocent slate who doesn't know what's coming.
And this is not at all. Actually, shockingly, I was thinking about Undertale. So one of the things is Undertale is basically one of the most heavily spoiled games that I've ever run into in regards to how the battle system works and what happens when you play with it. So if you haven't played it before, please, I recommend you playing it.
Instead of researching it?
Instead of actually researching it, because the game itself really has been, as far as I know, I've debated on whether or not, for example, that we should, for example, play Undertale. But unfortunately, both my friend and myself know way too much about what's going on and with the mechanics of the game itself that it feels like it would be sort of useless and pointless to play it, because if some people has actually pointed out before of being the thing that makes Undertale really special is truly not having any attachment, not really know what's going on, and let people really just play completely without any information.
I would tend to say I know about 80% less about it than my friend Scandal here does, but still there are things where I understand that it's subverting a number of tropes, that it does have an option for, multiple playthroughs of the game is self-aware, sort of spoils things.
I
would say, but I don't want to go into any more detail than that, because that for me didn't mean anything when I first heard it.
Right.
And then getting context for it was kind of that sounds cool, but then discovering it on my own would have been really, really cool.
Would have been really neat. Yeah, well, and that's one of the things, though, at least for me, where I'm I feel kind of bad about Doki Doki Literature Club in that way, just because, I'm I know there are different endings and there's different stuff going on, so
And it has to pitch itself as a horror game to respect people.
Right. Okay, maybe this is what Sayori meant when she said she likes my poems?
She likes how she performs them in her head.
It's I get to reach more deeply into someone I thought I knew through and through. And God, she just... Teaspoon, man. She's a fucking teaspoon. Sayori finishes, and we applaud. I sort of fall off the edge of my chair because I've fallen asleep, but it's fine. All right.
As I go, learning things about people when you knew as much as you ever wanted to know.
Yay.
I did it!
Good job, Sayori.
Even Splat liked it. I say out loud to Splat, third person who is in front of me.
That's what Sayori said to Splat. That's why you read the line.
Even Splat liked it. I say to Splat.
Oh, that could be a comment she says to herself. I have found
even Scandal liked it. I say straight to Scandal's face.
Yay!
It's a little weird feeling.
Yeah, so that is, again, one of the things where I feel that I don't believe we're wrong, that Sayori is meant to be a childish character, because that seems to be a childish thing that people seem to do to try to...
It would also be desirable, if she is suddenly talking to herself, since we're first-person perspective inside of Splat's head, basically, or Splat's eye sockets, according to the game, right. This means we can hear what she's saying, because we don't get any experience outside of what Splat can perceive with, their senses.
Right.
So it's even Splat liked it. Here's Splat as she says it in front of them.
Splat, I'm right here. What the fuck?
I guess that's a good sign.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
What?
It, came out nicely, Sayori. The atmosphere of the poem fits you really nicely. But, it might be that other poems wouldn't work quite as well with that kind of really specific, theatrical, interpretive, delivery that you gave. It was really deeply performative. It felt a lot like, how can I put it? Like, a lot like a theater club or a drama club.
She's saying your poem is shit.
What I'm saying is, that level of enthusiasm just might not work as well with any other piece of literature in the world.
Great.
But for that one, it worked. It was very you. I have hated it when I have done a project for someone else. Like when I've been in school, and this is college because I didn't go to a lot of regular school, but I think it happened even when I was in like grade school, very little grade school, because I was largely homeschooled for most of my formative education. My primary education. I would
Your
say
formative years.
exactly. I would say, but like, when I've done something because a teacher asked for it and they go, that's very you, it sounds just like you. I'm like, this is not like me. This fits the guidelines of what you fucking told me to do. Please do not tell me this is me bearing my soul when you basically outlined with a straight ruler, with a straight edge, every single thing that was supposed to be in here. Wow, it just really speaks of you. Thanks? I had this with an art project one time, and it just irritated the crap out of me, where I was like, several other people who did the final project for this class did not follow your guidelines. I know, and their pieces were so pretty. You were real strict about those guidelines and really specific that you need to follow them. Yeah, and you followed all of them. I know, which made your piece very like you. I guess if you're saying that my entire person is that I follow rules when they're given to me when I'm in someone else's space, sure, thanks.
Yeah, I trust people when they say no.
When they tell me what they expect of me and I'm working for them? Yeah, you as a person who doesn't step outside the lines and do something unexpected. Just tell me I could do something unexpected. Well, I can't do that, but they understood. Thanks. Anyway.
I didn't know that we were playing Guesswork Academy 2.
Yep. And so just, following the rules just seems just like all of you. Thanks.
Bitch.
I don't really understand. In other words, I've seen poems of yours when that sort of gentle delivery wouldn't work as well. When you have your really intense, like post-apocalyptic, graphic, slam poetry, it just singing it melodically just wouldn't work as well. They might need a little more force behind them, depending on what you're reading. What I'm saying basically is if you don't read exactly that poem, and I assume you're as one-dimensional and one-trick pony as that one performance implied, that you won't do very well, because I assume that's your entire range, your whole performing range was that one thing right there. So you know how you go up for an audition sometimes, and you do your thing, and they go, thank you, and you're like, I could do something else, and they're like, no, thank you, that's good enough. They assume they understand the entirety of your being and everything you could bring forth, and that you weren't their muse because that one flavor of you they got. That's what I think of you. That's all of you. And just, it wouldn't work for other forms of poetry.
Jesus Christ, Monica. This isn't like we're in Hollywood or anything. Jesus. This is a fucking school. Chill out.
I must have gotten away with myself. I know what you mean. That's, I've been practicing that kind of thing. It's just embarrassing to do it in front of everyone. Next time, I'm going to make you pick a poem that challenges you just a little more. I'm going to make you do it, because I can just make people do things.
I'm also like, why would you? Okay, so I appreciate understanding sometimes something that's a challenge, but also sometimes playing to people's strengths actually really isn't a bad thing. Let alone also in regards to sometimes doing something that challenges somebody anyway is just not going to sound like them, especially without guidance or help or interpretation or whatever.
Additionally, it sounds like Monica's sort of looking for something specific, and also I'm like, it's a literature club. Why do we need to challenge her range of performance?
I know. It's not fucking Hollywood. Jesus.
I know. I loved that. I was like,
this doesn't make.
But also, how many poems are they expected to read? Basically, we'll keep a running dialogue of performance if no one else gets in line to do poems. So you all need to have 7 or 8 prepared for the entire whatever length this festival is.
2 or 3 hours or whatever. God, that is suck.
And then
poems usually aren't very long.
Nope. They're not.
So are we actually, though, going to have to read literature to everyone and do, like, a book performance, and they're all going to have to pretend like they're Neil Gaiman?
You know what I have found is that it is just lovely when somebody who is passionate and thoughtful about a book stands up behind the podium and, you know, in front of a microphone and just reads a book to everyone. Like, Neil Gaiman is really, really good at it, and therefore, due to his multiple avenues of fame and the fact that he is just very charmingly disarming for a number of factors that come together, it works really, really well. But he also characterizes his characters and know exactly who they are because he's reading his own books.
There's also, though, the thing, too, that you have to consider with Neil Gaiman versus sometimes other people. There is a thing called pacing. And it's a thing that audiobook readers learn how to do as well, where you listen to them. So I have a really big habit of speeding up audiobooks because audiobook readers read so fucking slow, in my personal opinion. And that's not a slight on them. It's just the fact that the way that they tend to speak about them and say the words and the lines, like, it's very, very slow. And, like, he does that too, honestly. Like, sure, he knows his stuff, but he's also pretty slow.
I would say, on the other hand, he's also performative, so he's fun to watch while he's reading.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, but there's this experience where I've been in several places where someone just picks up a book and starts reading it to an audience, and it's really, really lovely.
Right.
And I've enjoyed it greatly, especially when people, are clearly enjoying their subject matter, and they draw you in via their performance.
Yeah.
All right. We don't have much time before the festival, you know? Okay! Now, who's next? Natsuki?
Don't make me go before Splat. It's not like I can compare to you guys anyway. Might as well let Splat lower everyone's standards a little before I have to do it.
Natsuki, did you just call Splat a bad performer?
It's fine. It's fine. It's clearly a beauty before age. It's okay.
Natsuki, what?
I'm younger than you, asshole!
Excuse you?
I might as well get it over with.
Hi.
But it's not like I have much of a selection of what to read.
I've written like 2.
Like, Jesus, I'll just have to go with what I wrote for today, I guess? God, this is gonna sound weird with all of my, without all of my themed anime background music. It'll be terrible. I stand up and step in front of the podium. Everyone has their eyes on me, making me feel terribly awkward. I recite my poem. Since I'm not exactly confident in my own writing, it's hard to put energy into it.
I forgot what I wrote, so just kind of reading it.
Yeah, exactly.
Surprise to me.
Oh, God, was I really, high or something?
I think I was really just scribbling down lines
Again?
while I was doing other stuff, and I kind of went freeform poetry. Go.
Right, despite that, once I finish, I receive applause anyway. Sorry, I'm not really as good as everyone else, but I don't need to be because fuck this.
Right, who seem to care about something a lot.
Hey.
Don't worry about it so much. We love listening to you. I think it's less about your abilities and more about your lack of confidence in your writing.
Wow, it's almost like exactly what I said in my internal monologue.
And by that, what I mean is that it's not that your poetry is bad. It's just that your performance is.
Thanks.
Oh, sure, honey.
I don't care.
That's something that'll improve over time, though.
Oh, what? You're not gonna put me through the ringer? Yeah, maybe.
If I decide to do anything.
If I give any fucks at all.
All right, then. Well, that went by real fast. That just leaves you, Natsuki.
Well, we can't have it, where you actually read the poem, because then we'd have a problem, but it's fine.
Right?
I'm going... Natsuki begrudgingly gets out of her seat and makes her way to the podium.
What's the difference between grudgingly and begrudgingly? Because she could have grudgingly got out of her seat.
I actually don't know. You're going to have to forgive me on that one. I do not know. I think they're actually almost the same thing at this point.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I was just curious. Anyway.
This poem is called... The poem is called...
The poem.
Oh, I'm so glad you're now correcting me. Madam, I'm not correcting you.
Madam, I can read sometimes.
Sometimes. It's called... Why are you all looking at me?
Because, wait, that's the title of your poem? I love it. I mean, because you're presenting. People, when we're at the festival, they're going to be looking at you, too.
Anyway, the poem is called Jump. Natsuki takes a deep breath. Once she starts reciting the poem, her sour attitude disappears a little. just an itsy-weensy un poquito amount. Well, she's still a little unenthused. Her poem has a rhythm and rhyme to it. It's Natsuki's trademark style, which I fucking would have no idea, and it works surprisingly well when spoken aloud.
So basically it sounds really simple and doesn't use big words, which is the only trademark style we're aware of, and it's more straightforward and less interpretive, except for today she decided to show her range and be more interpretive and go, look, I can be like those other, pissy intellectuals. See, look at me, I have range.
Yeah, fuck you, I'm special
I
too.
talked about how what I do is important to me and you can do things differently, and then I showed that I will just throw that out the window for the sake of acceptance and proving a point.
Which is totally fine and can mean a lot, actually, for a deeply insecure person who's, especially considering the fact that she's young and probably feels kind of ostracized in that way of going, I don't really connect with my older peers. It makes sense. I feel kind of bad for Natsuki, honestly.
Oh, so do I.
The words feel like they bounce up and down, as if giving life to the poem. But you know what? We won't find out what it may or may not be like in the next one. Or, we will, I suppose. So, thank you very much for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and also share the video. Whatever the fuck that means to you. So, also, please feel free to go check out a Ko-Fi and a Patreon. There are links in the description. And I have been Scandal.
And if Splat can manage to stay awake in the next episode, we'll continue on.
Yay!
And I have been Lies. And it was great playing with you. Bye!